put our taxpayer money or our council rates and spend it properly with
Well,
proper budget.
all right, guys, welcome to episode 4 of Glass Culture Podcast. Today we've got a pretty big one. We're going to be talking about a follow-up from our previous episode on Jeffrey Marsh with a TikTok star being bullied on TikTok from Jeffrey Marsh's fans. We're going to talk about Melbourne's puzzling new bin tax. We're going to be talking about Biden's bailout. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking about the US banking system is set to maybe collapse this week. And do you know how the central bank's digital dollars are going to affect you? I don't, but Jay does. So stay tuned, guys. I'm Dan,
I'm Jay.
and cue the intro. All right, Jay. I have got an update on our previous episode when we went a little bit off on Jeffrey Marsh. Obviously, recall we talked about that, and we got what do you think YouTube's response to us was?
We got shadow banned.
Shadow banned. Our message was suppressed. We weren't able to get the message out there to many of you people out there. People were saying, "Where is the video?" People couldn't find it. So we have set up a Rumble account, which will be kind of launching soon. So stay tuned for that. And we're also up on Spotify. So there's more ways to reach us and hear our message. So going on with Jeffrey Marsh, we have got an update from one of the TikTok stars called Shimmerin Nessa. I'll have her link down below. She has been essentially bullied online for her take on Jeffrey Marsh, and it's quite alarming. Would you say it's alarming to say the least?
It's definitely alarming. I mean, this woman just posted a few videos explaining a few things that this guy was up to and doing, kind of exposing some of the things. And she's been getting death threats. Even it goes as far as these people have found out which schools both of her kids go to because they go to different schools. And they know times and stuff that she's home and leaves and stuff like that. So she's quite worried. She's been forced to pull these videos down, and she's been forced to apologize to the community. So, I mean, it's quite shocking to hear all this.
It's very upsetting when you've got a opinion. I actually did a video. I basically mimicked her video to try to get some clout. It got a whopping 250 views, but I had the audio completely suppressed from my video as well. And I'm just an itty bitty mini TikToker, but she's not actually a bad person. She has a foundation for donating to the Heart Foundation. She's going to match your donations. It's not like she's evil, vile person out there. So really upsetting to see. But I wanted to start us off with a quick update on the Jeffrey Marsh situation. So everyone kind of get down there and follow her because I feel like she probably needs the positive support rather than the negativity that's kind of going on. So yeah, quick update. All right, guys. So after that update, we are going to be going on to something a little bit weird. Melbourne have started a puzzling new bin tax. People are going to be slugged with a fee that could reach $115 for waste collection in the Melbourne Council of Yarra. Now, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was already included within your council rates. Did you think that as well?
It is actually included.
Okay.
I think it's just another way that they want to do an increase of tax without making it sound like they're doing an increase in the tax.
It is a tax increase, isn't it? They've just
Yeah.
yeah. It's very, very strange. And for anyone out there who thinks, oh, it doesn't affect us because we live in Queensland or Perth or Adelaide or wherever, it absolutely does affect you.
Yeah, definitely. Once something like this gets through in one state, it'll spread to all states.
It's the way they do things. They test one place and then they roll it out everywhere else. And for some very affluent areas, that could be a lot of a higher amount because they know they can take the money.
It says Yarra Council is set to meet on March 14th over a proposal and has hired private security guards over the meeting who oppose a bit. Locals are not violent neo-Nazis. They simply oppose the bin tax.
Look, in my experience, the only people that go to council meetings, and this is just from my experience, are typically like pensioners and older people who probably really haven't got the energy for large scale mayhem and destruction. Let's have a look here. So they're set to meet on March 14th over the proposal, and yeah, so we'll see if it actually gets passed. I have a striking suspicion that people are going to be opposing this strongly.
Oh, definitely, it's definitely corruption.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how much that totals. Have to see how that affects Melbourne before it affects the rest of Australia.
How about this? How about you put our taxpayer money or our council rates and spend it properly with
Well,
proper budgets?
let's not be too logical. With logic like that, you could be a senator.
Yep.
Actually, no, you couldn't, because that's flawed logic by senator standards. All right, all right. And now we're going to go on to something that you've made me aware of. We've got quite a lot to do about finance today, US finance as well, but that will heavily dictate and affect the rest of the world. So it's important to focus on the US, financial scene, which is why I've got you, because you know everything about that. We've got three incredibly interesting topics here, and I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about Biden's amazing bailout.
Ah,
Ah,
yes, the bailout of the banks.
just like whenever you tell me anything about money, the first thing you say to me, and this is
This is
scary,
not
guys.
financial advice.
I'll be like, "What crypto did you buy?" And you will look me dead in the face, and as serious as I've ever seen anyone do anything, you will say, "This is not financial advice."
So after the last 48 hours, three banks in America have so far gone under. Silvergate Bank, Signature Bank, and Silicon Valley Bank. A couple of these banks were more tech orientated banks that helped startups and stuff like that get off the ground. They were also crypto friendly banks. There was a bank run on a few of these banks, which has caused the bank collapse.
Would you mind telling us what a bank run is?
Yeah. So a bank run is when people don't feel safe with their money in a particular bank, and they withdraw their savings from that bank. And then what
Oh,
happens is, because banks are fractional reserve banks, they're not obligated to keep all of your money in their holdings. So
it's like pretend.
yeah, it's pretend money. It's basically they move money around, they put money here, they put money there, um, whatever gets them the best uh, interest they can on their money. So a lot of the times they will buy bonds, which would be the US bonds, which gets locked in for a specific time. There's 3, 6, 10-year bonds, and these bonds are kind of like a safe haven, as when you lock it in for the period of time, you're guaranteed for 6, 7%, depending on the interest rate at the time. And as that matures, you can take it out after the period of time and get your percentage of money. And because it's obviously the US bonds, it's very, very safe, because where is the United States going to go as the world currency as it stands?
So I guess it also, the way I think of that is the way the banks are treating it is they don't expect everybody to want all their money at once. They expect Joe Blow to want to draw out $50,000, and then maybe someone else might want to draw out some money 3 weeks later. They don't expect everyone to come in seemingly at once wanting all of their money.
Correct. Yeah. That's
So they're
exactly how it works.
pretending they're pretending that they've just got it forever and they can earn interest on that and always be ahead of you financially because they would keep the interest.
Yeah, and just constantly, give people loans, and because everyone needs a loan, everyone needs a house, car,
Hmm.
pay mortgages and stuff like that. So they constantly keep loaning out people's money, and don't actually have the money to back it up. And then what happens would be that on a bank run, they have to basically get the money from somewhere. So then they're forced to sell these bonds that they're holding,
Hmm.
which haven't matured yet in the time.
So they don't get the
So,
interest.
well, the thing is, depending on the stock market and what is happening around the world, these stocks could be worth a lot less than what they currently were purchased at.
Yeah.
Which means that when they're forced to sell, they're they're selling at a loss, which can be billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Well, it sounds pretty scary. And then obviously this affects the people, um, and it obviously affects the rich and the poor. And that's when Biden's bailout comes into it. So how is that going to come in to save the day?
Well, so what happened in 2008 was there was a financial crash, um, basically a bank run. It was a game of musical chairs with finances across the world, and eventually the music stopped, and you had to show how liquid you were with the cash and the money that you had. And that's when all these bank runs started happening. And as you saw, there was a collapse of the Lehman Brothers, which was one of the biggest banks at the time. Um, and stocks and everything around the markets went under. They all dropped. They all sold off.
Hmm.
It was quite a hard time for everyone at the time. A lot of people lost jobs and stuff like that. Eventually, they have to print money, and they turn America at the time turned the printers on and basically saved all these banks which were doing the wrong thing and got them out of trouble, bailed them out. Basically, you print money, it makes the everyday person their savings worth less.
Yeah.
Things go up, so that's where inflation happens, and all of a sudden everything has to rise, and all of a sudden you're having to pay more, but you're not earning more at the wages at your job.
So tell me how this affects a family, just a regular household, just a regular family.
It means that everything goes up. So the cost of living, electricity, gas, water, putting food on the table, schooling, um, medical, healthcare, uh, transportation, gas, everything goes up. Basically, companies will have to they go through it as well. The simplest way that they can survive, so you lose your job um, in a crowded place, and yeah, so that could be another way that you feel it that way.
That's scary. So obviously we're Australian. We're in Australia, and the reason this is important for us to know and for people at home to know is because people in Australia typically don't follow American money because we're in Australia, correct? But why is this important for us in Australia to know and to actually prepare ourselves for? Because you've been telling me this for you've been telling me there's going to be something happening for like a year and a half. You've already predicted this, but what can we do in Australia? What do we think is going to happen here? How does this affect us?
Well, I mean, it can also affect us, as in our banks that we're with could be over leveraged, and the same thing could happen to the Bank SAs, the ANZs, the Westpacs that you're with now. We're not immune, uh, basically, to what's happening in America.
Mm,
So that's something that we really got to be cautious of. Flip side of this is that if the American government decide to bail these banks out yet again, that means that for imports and everything that we do here, everything will go up here as well. So
mm.
everything's going to go up uh, massively. So it's already been announced that Biden is going to step in they're actually going to save the customers.
Hmm.
So there's an insurance with a lot of banks, and this insurance covers you for about $250,000 or under. Um, but if you have more money than that in your bank, then it's not insured. So what's happened here is there's a lot of big players, big whales, we like to call it, as in they have a lot of money. They're high profile people, could be celebrities, big entrepreneurs, tech giants. These people um, are at risk of losing their money. So they're going to step in and subsidize and cover all those losses. But what will happen is the middle class, the working class, they'll get the taxed for that,
They'll get,
and
yeah.
that's where, yeah, they'll get their money back through that way.
All right. So I have seen on Twitter, because it has been trending, this whole kind of scenario. I have seen that Joe Biden is going to have, or President Joe Biden is going to have an update soon proposing a 25% increased tax on the wealthy and capital gains tax. Now, I've never been too sure on these things, but I know you're a lot more clued up on this side of things. Tell me how that affects things, because from my perspective, it looks like it could be a good thing.
It's definitely not a good thing. So doing a tax on the super rich, although it sounds like a good idea, it's really not, because the people that you think it's going to target, it will not target. They they will always find a way around these things.
Mm.
Um, and for the ones that it will affect, I mean, you're going to tax these billionaires basically, and they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to lose money, so I'll then fire and downsize my business, get rid of employees basically to offset that tax, um, or they will increase products, so that the consumer will have to pay more for these things. So basically, it's a no-win situation. You think it's going
Mm.
to do something, but it's the middle class and the working class that will suffer from this tax. It's not the way to basically fix this issue of inflation.
It kind of reminds me of, I know we were watching, or I was watching the debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump a few years ago, and they were talking about tax, and he doesn't pay very much tax, and then he said, it's because I'm smart. I'm taking advantage of the loopholes that the existing government have in the entire tax system so that he can pay less tax. Because, I mean, when you think about it, these people are billionaires, right? They aren't billionaires by just sitting at a computer doing their own pay, they're filing their own tax returns. They have teams of the best people ensuring that they can get away with things. They can do this, that, and the other. They can do all these little loopholes and things like that. So I guess you're right. Now that I hear that.
There used to be an old saying: "You don't go broke putting money in the bank." Yes, you do. Basically, the longer you leave money in the bank, just leaving it in the bank, it's getting devalued. It's rotting away. You're not earning interest on that, and if you are earning any interest, it's now pathetic. The interest that you get back. You should have your money diversified in other areas, um, because I mean, just having your money sitting in the bank with inflation and everything that happens, $100,000 today is not going to buy you the same amount of stuff that you would have bought
Mm.
in 10 years' time. They're trying to, as the WEF said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. So
Sounds
that
like
they're,
communism.
yeah. Dumb decision that he also tried to put through,
Yeah.
which would increase the capital gains tax from 20% to 40%.
And how does that affect a normal person? like me,
Well, that
who
would
doesn't know what
just
that
mean
is.
that if you were to sell your house, the profit of that would be 20%, but now it's going to be 40%.
Mm.
So an everyday person that buys a medium-sized house that would then sell it in, 5, 10 years, look to move somewhere else, you would then pay this new capital gains tax of 40% on any of the profits. So if you bought a house for 200,000 and you sold it for 400,000, you're now paying 40% on that 200,000 that
That's
you made.
almost like breaking even.
It's basically a way of keeping you poor.
Well, imagine being a house flipper. You buy a house for $200,000. It's a fixer up. You buy it for $200,000. You maybe have to spend $80,000 to fix it up. So you spent $280,000 plus whatever tax they're going to tax you just on purchasing a house. Then you sell it for $550,000, for example.
And
You
your
would
government comes in and says, again, thank you, 40% tax on that nice work that you did for me, mate.
what's the point in even starting? What's the point in buying the rundown house in the beginning? You won't have actually made any money.
It'll just be a way for again, the rich and super rich will still be able to continue to do this because it will still be worth it, because they won't be just doing one or two houses. They'll be doing 10, 20 projects at once, subdivisions and all this kind of stuff.
Large
But the
flats, yeah.
Yeah, but the average person, you know, house, maybe an investment property, they will get screwed over.
It sounds
And
corrupt, if I can be honest.
yeah, it is, and I mean, it even carries it. It does. It's not just the housing sector. It will also be, cars, you know, stocks, stuff like that.
Anything big, financially big, I guess.
Anything that's a lot of money at
Wow.
once.
Well, that's scary. And like I said, again, it's in America. It's going to flow on if it becomes the new norm, unfortunately.
I don't
Um,
think it'll get passed through though, because the Republicans have a seat.
because
So
they control, don't they?
they do. So
Yeah.
I don't think that they will let this bill pass, which is a good thing. But if they weren't in, this would be big, big trouble.
All right. So, people out there, in the comments down below, just let us know if you know how the central bank's digital dollars are going to affect you, because I don't, but we have our self-appointed, I'm going to say expert here, internet expert, putting a lot of pressure on you here. It's going to talk us through it a tiny bit. Jay, this is your floor.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of research on the central bank digital dollar, which is the CBDC. So a central bank digital dollar is basically a form of digital currency that is issued by a country's central bank. They are similar to cryptocurrencies, except their value is fixed to the central bank and equivalent to the country's fiat currency. So that means that it's basically a one-to-one of the dollar, the US dollar, the Australian dollar, whatever dollar around the world that you are.
Okay, it's easy.
Fiat money is government issued currency that is not backed by physical commodity like gold or silver. So that means that we currently are in a system at the moment around the world where our money is not backed by gold or silver. So it's basically almost like a Ponzi scheme where banks around the world can and governments can print money at their disposal to create more money. They don't have to have it back to anything. Where a long time ago, it used to be backed on the gold standard. I think it was President Nixon was the one that took us or the US off the gold standard.
Mm-hmm. Was it referred to as the gold standard?
Yes.
No, I thought that was just a saying. No, You are right. A gold standard is a monetary system in which the standard economic unit of account is based on a fixed quantity of gold. You smug prick.
The main goal of a CBDC is to provide businesses and consumers with privacy, transferability, and convenience, accessibility, and financial security. A CBDC could also decrease the maintenance and complex financial system that it requires. It can reduce cross border transaction costs and provide those who currently use an alternative money transfer method with lower cost options. So basically, at the moment, to move your money across the world, there is a lot of fees that the banks or Western Union, basically the middlemen, they take a lot of fees from that. So if you were to do a large sum of $1 million, let's say, there would be a lot of tax that would have to come off of that. So you're not actually sending $1 million, you'd be spending a lot more. This is a way that it can reduce the transaction fees associated with that.
Now, for people at home, like, my mum, for example, is the CBDC essentially a competitor to cryptocurrency?
It's another form. So this will be a form that will be by your government. So it is basically controlled by each government.
Yeah.
So Australia will have their own CBDC. The US will have their own CBDC. China already has a CBDC. Russia is working on a CBDC. India will get one, etc., etc., etc.
Okay. But you don't think this is going to be their way of trying to stop some of the cryptocurrency stuff?
No,
They
this will
serve
be
different purposes still?
different purposes.
Yep. Okay.
So there's two types of CBDCs. There is a wholesale CBDC and a retail CBDC.
Okay.
So a wholesale CBDC are similar to holding reserves in a central bank. The central bank grants an institution an account to deposit funds or use to settle interbank transfers. Central banks can then use the monetary policy tools such as reserve requirements or interest on reserve balances to influence leading and set interest rates. So it'll be a way for this type of CBDC will be a way that these big corporations will continue to play their games and make more profit in a way with each other.
Yeah.
And then there will be a retail CBDC. Now, the retail CBDCs are governed backed digital currencies used by the consumer and businesses and retail, which eliminate intermediate risks. The risk that private digital currency issues might become bankrupt and lose customer assets. So there you can already hear that it takes the banks out of the equation. So it's the government that will own these currencies and they will be the ones that control it. And you know how these banks are going under, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It'll be basically instead of the banks doing the dodgy stuff that they'll be doing as the middleman, it'll be basically the government that will be the dodgy ones in that scenario.
I wonder if that's any better or worse. But
So now that we know what a CBDC is, now we can theorize the pros and cons. So the pro would be that you'll be able to move money around faster. As at the moment, you pay with your debit card. the transaction takes a couple of days to go through. As a business owner, sometimes that's frustrating that the money doesn't come in straight away because you left out of pocket and you have to wait, etc., etc. It'll be a way to move money to a family member or to someone overseas, and they will get it instantly. It won't take 5 working days, etc. It will also cost barely any fee, and move at pretty much the speed of light. It'll just kind of be there.
Okay, I do like that.
It also gives the governments control of the money so that they will then be able to um, control sort of the interest rates. They'll be able to control inflation a lot better, and they will be able to control shady middlemen slash banks from the dodgy stuff that they are doing, which a lot of people don't know about.
So you're all for it?
Hell no. um, so I will tell you now the cons.
Yep.
And these cons are basically why it is terrible and why you should know it is terrible.
Oh no.
But just know that no matter how much bad stuff I tell you, that these CBDCs, it's inevitable. They're coming. Whether you like it or not, whether you protest or not, they're coming and they will come.
Thanks.
So the negativity on the CBDC. So they basically will control everything. So that means that they can put things like they can put an expiration on your money, let's say. So,
Okay.
Dan, you earn $1,000 a week. Then they will say you have 7 days to spend that money. Hypothetically, could be
Okay.
14 days, etc. But hypothetically, we'll say 7 days you have to spend that $1,000, which means you have to spend it while you got it. So, what do? You pay your bills, you
Yeah.
buy food, pay for petrol and stuff you need, and then the leftover, if not used, will disappear.
So it's like a uh, use it or lose it system.
Yes, so it will basically get rid of you ever trying to save money and be rich.
I
It's a
don't
way
like
to
that.
keep you poor, basically. What's even scarier is the fact that they can control how you spend your money. So they might put a restriction on you. Maybe you made a video on YouTube that they didn't like. Maybe you said something on Facebook or Instagram about a political matter that they didn't like. They can put a ban on the spending of your money. So you can basically tap with your card and go somewhere, and your money will not be allowed out of your account as a form of punishment.
Wow. It sounds like stuff from a sci-fi movie.
It is. It sounds like very much like it's from a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
but just a reminder that these CBDCs, they are coming. 100% they're coming. It's just being aware that this is all the stuff that they will be able to do, and it's frightening. Let's make a few funny scenarios.
Okay.
Let's say you're an overweight person,
Okay.
and they're like, "We're going to make you skinny because you are fat." They will basically stop your spending on junk food. So hungry, Macca's, KFC, it won't work. But at a Woolworths for healthy food, etc., it'll work. So they'll be able to basically put you on a diet without you wanting to be on a diet.
Look, you know what? If someone went in and actually wanted to go on one of these diets, that's actually a really useful tool for that person. But being forced sounds a bit harsh.
um, if they don't like another country, e.g., what's happening at the moment with China and Russia,
Yeah.
you will no longer be able to import stuff over cheaply. I mean,
Wow.
a lot of the times, I will also buy things online because it is significantly cheaper than
Hmm.
buying it in the shops here. I will just buy it online, and this will be a way that they will say, "No, you're not going to buy it from this place in this country." So it'll be declined, basically.
But from where they say, basically.
Correct.
Oh wow. That could also have other implications with people with Shopify accounts, drop shipping stores.
Yep. So another form will be which is happening in Northern Territory and Alice Springs,
Hmm.
is the ban of alcohol for the Indigenous community, um, where they're trying to basically limit on certain days um, them getting any alcohol at all, and on other days being only allowed to get a small supply. So this is another simple way of saying they'll put a ban, and nowhere you go, you can get alcohol.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's. I understand from one point of view on why you would do it, but on the other side, it goes against freedom. It goes against what you do for yourself and your own choices. And the other flip side of that would be, let's say, people in the dole. Um, when I say this, I mean a lot of people will probably think, yeah, this is good. As in, these people that are usually on the dole will spend their money on cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, stuff of that nature.
Hmm.
It's a way of basically almost giving them like a food stamp. Basically, they'll have a set amount of money, but it will only be for maybe gas, electricity, water, and food.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it sounds like a good idea because a lot of these people they get money and they don't do sensible things with it.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that would be that's going to create basically a way that they're going to want to get these things. So what's the alternative for a way that a person that is already basically living below the means of the average person has no fear of going to jail because they've got nothing to really strive or live for.
Yeah.
They will break-ins and stuff like that and
How does
crime
this
will
affect things?
will rise. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even you know, doing personal favors with people who have the means to go and get the whatever it might be could be another, you know, harsh way that people might end up doing things to get what they want. I'm not saying the words,
definitely.
but you know what I mean.
There definitely could be some exploits of females, and possibly males. Sexual favors or stuff like that for basically these products. So these things have already been started.
Oh God.
China is well and we're done and been implementing this for a couple of years now. Um, Australia last year have been planning to release their one this year, along with America. So these things are ready to be introduced uh, very soon. I'd probably say maybe by the end of the year, and then possibly be in full effect within the next, say, 5 years.
Wow, that's scary. But I mean, it might not be too hardcore here, but who knows? Um, I mean, the average person who's just a regular Joe, just living their life, maybe won't notice a huge deal, but there will be some people that might be greatly impacted by this change, and that's where you might see some scary stuff.
And that's where I guess the debate comes for with cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is a form of decentralization, which basically means that it's a form of no one or no entity is in control of anything.
Mm.
You are in control of your own assets. So a simple form of this would be Bitcoin, which is permissionless. So it can't be stopped. It can't be banned. It can't be basically taken away, as long as you have it on a ledger, which is like a digital wallet.
Mm.
Then it's like a safe for your wealth and monetary value, and you can spend and buy without being stopped.
Yeah, so it's like they're two completely polar opposites, two sides of the coin, basically.
Yeah. And a
Yeah,
lot of these other currencies, um, which would be like Ethereum, is another top decentralized project. These things are building um, infrastructures and different apps and economies and sectors and everything on top to then transition the real world and everything that goes on now into this decentralized world. So you basically have a government that wants to centralize and control everyone, and then you almost have the freedom people that don't want the government to control every aspect.
yeah,
Maybe they're willing to obviously negotiate and accept rules, regulations, and the two can come together and work together and provide so much more beneficials financially for the country, let's say.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to see what actually happens then.
All right, guys, thank you very much. That's been a great episode 4. Remember to like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Everything is down below. Please do. Please comment if there's any issues or things that you like or dislike along with the channel and how we went today. Dan.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the episode. We're going to be on Spotify as well as YouTube for podcasts, and we're also going to be on Rumble shortly as well. So we'll have all the links down below. Obviously, hit us up on Twitter as well with any kind of follow ups, feedback that you may have. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one. We'll see you for GCP 5 next time.
Bye.